Let's make some noise. Come on.
Right, you are, Nick Foles. Let's make some noise, everybody. Welcome back to the Final Word with MattyB here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. Your Tuesday check-in on this beautiful October 21st, 2025. Pleasure to be back in the seat with you. Show three? Yes, show 3 of the week. Now, unfortunately, we just have one more left. Tomorrow will be our final show. As I told you, I got to cut the week short. Got some stuff to do. But let's continue the good vibes flowing tonight. Quiet night, man. Don't like this. Again, I said this, I think, last week. With no Phillies baseball, something that you could rely on at least sometimes 6 days out of the week, sometimes 7 days out of the week. But with no Phillies baseball, things are going to clunk down to a stop. Get 2 or 3 Flyers games a week, maybe 2 or 3 Sixers games a week, sprinkle in an Eagles game. And before you know it, you're sitting by your computer watching Arizona Fall League baseball. Yeah, that's right. That's what you're doing. Trust me, I know. But that's the time of the year we're in. We got to do our best. We all got to hunker down and do our best. And tonight, with our Tuesday check-in, I'm going to do my best. Now, some of the hot stories in town tonight, it is confirmed. Brandon Graham is coming back. Oh, yeah. I heard now Jason Kelsey might. No, I'm just kidding. Brandon Graham is returning to the Eagles as they made it official today. Definitely that's on the table. We can talk about that. How do you feel about that? Is this a I brought it up last night. I mean, how can you look at this move and be like encouraged that Howie Roseman did the best he could with assembling this roster for 2025? And we can discuss that if you like. Off day for the Flyers as they're coming off that big 5-2 win yesterday against the Kraken. I said this on last night. If Dan Vladar gets to start against the Senators, if on Thursday night the Flyers go ahead and start Vladar, that to me is an indication that he is the de facto number 1 goalie on this team, that they've given the job to him. Because to me, that makes the obvious, that's the obvious move to make. Now, more than likely, Urson will get to start Saturday. But if Vladar starts Thursday night, in my mind eyes, at least, it's pretty much confirmed that Vladar will be the starting goalie. Not that I'm against it. I think that's obviously the smart move. You ride the hot hand now. So we talk Flyers. Some Flyers-related news going on. Carter Hart. And this happened last week, and I just totally forgot to talk about it. Carter Hart's coming back to the NHL. Now, the NHL, after the 5 individuals who were brought up for charges in the sexual assault incident with Hockey Canada were cleared, acquitted, proven not guilty, proven not guilty. They then had to serve out a different, further on suspension from the NHL as they launched another investigation into the whole situation, which I thought was pretty stupid. The NHL Players Association also was not totally in favor of that, but the NHL came out with a ruling a couple weeks ago saying that all 5 players cleared in that sexual assault charge or that sexual assault case can regain or return to the NHL on 1 December. And now all the indications are floating around that Carter Hart is going to sign a contract with the Vegas Golden Knights and return to the NHL. More than likely, probably go down to Hendersonville in the AHL for a couple 3 starts before getting an opportunity with Vegas. But Carter Hart back in the NHL. I don't know the status of the other 4, which, to be honest with you, with the exception of Carter Hart, the 4 others that were brought up for charges were, one was not even in the league, and the other 3 were kind of tweener guys in and out, AHL, NHL type players. So Carter Hart, obviously the big name there. And of course, he was the Flyers guy, and he was our goalie. So yeah, that's just part of the course. So that's on the table tonight as well. Phillies, listen, we wrapped up our week-long retrospective on MattyB's 2026 Phillies plan. If you want to discuss that further, I'm more than game to. The World Series will start Saturday, in Los Angeles. Or is it in Los Angeles? Yeah, I think it's in Los Angeles. Dodgers and the Blue Jays, who are making their first appearance in the World Series since Joe Carter broke our hearts back in 1993. Our of the night segment, our card review, and of course, our day in Philadelphia sports history, all on the table tonight. So let's get it revved up here. Joe Hale. Hey, Joe, how are you? Good to see you again. Let's get it started with our day in Philadelphia sports history, as we do every night on the program. So let's strap in, strap on, strap it up. Put your head, or keep your head, hands, and feet inside the card all times. And here we go. This was a banner day in Philadelphia sports history, because back on this day in 1980, this happened.
The crowd will tell you what happens.
That's right, folks. On this day in 1980, the Philadelphia Phillies captured the franchise's first ever World Series championship, beating the Kansas City Royals in 6 games. And I was 7 years old at the time, and I remember very vividly, like it was yesterday. It's a memory that'll probably stay with me forever. My mother waking me up around the time the game had ended, and I looked up at her, and she looked down at me, and she said, "They did it. Let's go up to Frankfurt and Cottman." And there I was, 7 years old, in a sea of lunatics on Frankfurt and Cottman Avenue on a late October night, 1980, celebrating the Phillies' first ever World Series championship. A great day, a banner day in the history of the city, and of course, a great day, a banner day in the history of the organization. It all finally came together for the Phillies in 1980 on this day. And this was part of the indoctrination that I had as a young child into the Philadelphia sports world. I thought this was normal, right? I thought winning championships or appearing in championship game series, I mean, let's look at it. You know, the Flyers at that time were still kind of a dominant team in the NHL. They had the 2 back-to-back Stanley Cups, and then they were still a perennial Stanley Cup competitor. I mean, they were there in 79-80 and lost to the Islanders in the finals, but they were one of the best teams in the NHL. The Sixers were routinely battling the Celtics in the East for supremacy, and then they broke through in 82-83. The Phillies go ahead and win the World Series in 80, and then they go back to the World Series again in 1983. How could I not be swayed by thinking that this was the norm? And of course, as the saying goes, the other shoe did fall. Yeah, it did. And the rest of the 80s were sort of a shot back down to reality. But for at least my indoctrination into the scene, what a way to be brought in. And then, of course, the Eagles. Eagles were in the Super Bowl in 81 and early 81 from the 80 season. So this is what I thought normal was. I thought we did this every year, celebrating championships, celebrating greatness, being a competitive, viable sports town. And well, things definitely fell off a cliff, but I will not forget the memories of this night that I had as a child. It's stayed with me all these years, and I don't think it'll ever leave. So on this night back in 1980, Tug McGraw, Mike Schmidt, Larry Boa, Pete Rose, Gary Maddox, young Lonnie Smith, Bob Boone, Greg Luzinski, Steve Carlton. They made this little kid's dream come true by winning the franchise's very first World Series championship. And as we sit here, yet another failed October run. And I like to also look at it kind of like this too. Would you rather be a team that finishes in the playoffs and doesn't like see it through to the championship, or would you rather just not make the playoffs? You know, growing up, I would probably give you a different answer, but today, after what I've seen and been through, you know, if you're not going to win it all, man, don't even bother making the playoffs at that point in my life. But another failed October run this year brings back memories of a fantastic October night back in 1980, a night that I will never forget as a ripe old 7-year-old. So congratulations to the Phillies on this night back in 1980, winning the organization's very first ever World Series, and a corresponding big night in 2009 on this day, as the Phillies defeated the Los Angeles Dodgers in the National League Championship Series to return to the World Series for a second straight year to, you know, defend their championship from 2008. Of course, they'd go on and lose to the Yankees. But back on this night in 2009, the Phillies got back to the World Series after beating the Dodgers in the NLCS. So makes it even that much more of a bitter pill to swallow, as here we sit in October with no Phillies baseball and a really great night in Phillies baseball history on this night in Philadelphia sports history. So there you go. That is your night in Philadelphia sports history. Friday's game is in Toronto. I thought it was Saturday, and I thought it was in, well, I didn't really know where it was, but I thought it was Saturday. Friday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Oh, maybe it is. Maybe it is. I don't really care, honestly. I'm going to watch it. But I still think the Dodgers will win. So there you have it. And that, of course, brought to you by the fine folks here at the It's a Wrap Sports Network. Creators of such programming as, do I have it in here? I don't know why I haven't uploaded it, but the Get Processed Sixers postgame show making its series debut tomorrow night. Sixers Celtics postgame. By the way, that's on the table too. If you want to wax poetic about the NBA, I know I don't flex the muscle often, ever, but I am a basketball. I know much about basketball. I just choose to ignore it because I'm just so out on everything Philadelphia basketball. But you want to talk some Sixers Celtics, you want to talk about the Sixers' chances this year in a very beat up Eastern Conference, we can definitely discuss that. But so yeah, that was brought to you by the Get Process. Pat Bernard will take you on a journey of 82 games, maybe more. We'll see, but that starts tomorrow night here on the network, post-game Sixers Celtics. So make sure you're tuned in for all that. Is the Bird Blast going to be seen this week? It is. I don't know when, but it is. I'm still working on that, but we're going to try to fix it and work it in. But there you go. So let's get in with the stories, I guess. Let's get in with the lead-in topic. The number one, the numero uno on this very quiet Tuesday. Brandon Graham officially returning to the Philadelphia Eagles to rekindle his football itch, or to scratch his football itch, saying that he really wasn't wanting to retire, but didn't see a pathway, I guess, to being part of the 2025 team due to roster constrictions and money. I don't know. So he kind of did the honorable thing and retired. But he's unretired, and he'll be rejoining the Eagles. I don't know if it's playing this week or they'll give him the bye to kind of figure things out and get him back in there for the Monday Nighter against Green Bay. I don't know his timeline. Honestly, I don't care. This is a terrible move this is a maybe not terrible football-wise. And that tells you the state of the Eagle defensive line and the state of the Eagle defense in general. One of the cornerstones, if not the cornerstone of that Super Bowl championship run last year, if you ask me, was their defense and the way they played, especially down the stretch of the season. Opportunistic, forcing turnovers, pressure. Went into the Super Bowl, sacked Mahomes. What did he sack him, like 6 times in the Super Bowl? They were a well-oiled machine as they rolled their way to a Super Bowl championship. Howie Roseman then dismantles the defense in the offseason, gets rid of 6 main parts of it, and decides to turn over those reins to Class B type free agents, draft picks that he selected in April, and then past draft picks that he was hoping that were going to step up and step in. Through the first 3 weeks of the season, the defense seemed to be at least not missing a beat, and I'll give them the credit for that. But after logging in an inordinary amount of time on the football field and suffering an inordinary amount of injuries, the defense in week 7 or heading into week 8 is a shell of itself that started the season, and it's a corpse of itself that ended last season. Massive penalty issues, undisciplined play, not as opportunistic as they were last year up to this point. And I remember the big rally cry back in the early part of the season when we were winning games with the wins a win strategy. You know, remember the mantra there? So wins a win. The rally cry was, it doesn't matter because the defense will keep us in games until the offense figures it out. Well, is this the defense figuring it out? Is this what the grand plan was, to bring back Brandon Graham? I mean, I know that the trade deadline is still a few weeks out. We got 10 days or so, or is it November 3rd or something like that? There is still some time on the trade deadline ticker. Howie Roseman still has an opportunity to rectify his terrible offseason when it came to constructing of his defense. But it's going to come at a cost. It's going to come at a cost of draft picks that the Eagles are now starting to run out of because they've made some ill-advised trades to start the season. None of them have worked. John Minchie trade hasn't worked. The Tank Bigsby trade hasn't worked. None of them have worked. And they've cost the Eagles, I think those 2 trades cost the Eagles 4 draft picks. None of that crap has worked. And now you could potentially have to roll the dice again with more draft picks. Now, I know the homers out there, the window licker homers, not that there's 2 separate sides of the homer coin too. There's your homers and there's your window lickers. They'll tell you, don't worry about the draft picks, man. Yeah, you don't have to, we don't care. It's all about, all in. No, it's not, man. It's not about all in. You have a chance right now. And I've been saying this from day one of the offseason. You had a chance to start an Eagles dynasty. And you don't become a dynasty by rolling the dice year after year. You don't. You become a dynasty through good drafting, smart free agent decisions, and a couple of lucky trades here and there. And you keep that thing going. That's how you become a dynasty and stay a dynasty. So I don't care about, getting rid of draft picks. Let's get rid of them, trade them. I'm all in this year. That's ignorant, man, because we're better than that, right? The Philadelphia Eagles are the defending Super Bowl champions. They shouldn't be in that all-in mentality. Howie Roseman shouldn't be making phone calls at the trade deadline, praying to death and hoping to hell that he gets a cornerback or another edge rusher. No. Howie Roseman should be doing what all defending Super Bowl champion GMs who are on the verge of potentially entering a dynasty should be doing. Finding role players, rotational players that can come in and spell you out, or maybe take the burden off of some players, plug in an injury issue. Those types of players, not trying to recreate your defensive line at the trade deadline. He failed this offseason. I know you guys can't say it. I know that you're under strict orders from the Howie Gestapo not to talk negative about Howie Roseman. And that's okay. I will pick up the mantle and I will do it for you. But he failed this offseason through 7 weeks. I got to put a little asterisk on it. He failed through 7 weeks. And it's okay to say that because we should not be in this position. And Brandon Graham, maybe if things were not the way they were or are right now, and Brandon Graham decides to come out of retirement, maybe he's welcomed back with a little bit more of appreciation. But this, to me, smacks of desperation. This is a desperate move by Howie Roseman. He doesn't want to give up valuable draft capital. He thinks he can add another veteran, which this is a true statement. Brandon Graham's going to bring back some leadership along that line. He will. I don't know about his play, though. I don't know how much he really has left. I mean, he wasn't like lighting the world on fire at the end of last year. I mean, he's competent. How many snaps he's going to give you in the game, I don't know. But he will provide that veteran presence. He'll provide that leadership. Maybe calm things down in that locker room. And that's great. And I don't know if that can help. But after the end of the day, is this really making the Eagles a better football team? Does it make them a better football? Does the addition of Brandon Graham make them a better football team? And give me the X's and O's why it does. Tell me how it makes the Eagles better. Does it take some of the pressure off some players? Does it give you the opportunity to move Jihad Campbell and stick him out on the edge? I mean, yeah, but that should have been a given. I just want to know where this makes the Eagles a better team. And this is the big story right now. And I honestly thought when I heard the rumor, I thought it was like an AI generated rumor. I thought like there's no friggin' way this is a real thing. And well, it was. Oh boy, it was. And Brandon Graham is back in the nest for one more shot at Eagles Super Bowl glory. Graham is too old. I mean, yeah. And what happens next year? Brandon Graham leaves and we still have the leadership void problem. Brandon Graham leaves and we still have the undisciplined play. I mean, I know maybe he's going to try to impart some of his wisdom upon Jalen Carter, who's not a leader. Maybe that's what he's doing. But we'll see how that works. I think it's a desperate move. I think it's a desperation move to bring Brandon Graham back. And I said it last night, and I'll say it again tonight. It just has this memories of Steve Carlton's final days, in my head. Now, I'm not saying it's going to work out like this, and it won't. Brandon Graham's not going to bounce around for like 7 different teams before he decides to retire again. This is a 1-year shot or a half a season shot. He's going to roll the dice one more time on his career. But if it was me, what are you proving on? What are you trying to prove, man? I know the retirement of that the Smith guy that hurt the Eagles. Or was it Thomas Smith, the guy that retired like last week out of nowhere? I know that hurt the Eagles. But I'll go back to your GM. Did he do a good enough job to provide enough depth along that defense to absorb a rash retirement out of nowhere, injury problems, and draft picks that just have not stepped up? When was the last time I heard Jordan Davis's name called? Wasn't it the blocked field goal game or punt game? With that game, that was the last time I heard Jordan Davis's name mentioned, and that was weeks ago. Where has he gone all season? Zach Bond has had himself. It's interesting because Bond had a potential defensive player of the year season last year, and this year he's having himself a little bit on the outside edges of a Pro Bowler. Right. So he's taken some steps backwards, if that makes any sense. It does. He's not having the same type of season. We can go up and down the secondary and talk about how that's not working out. Quinyon Mitchell has not had a good sophomore season. He's played okay, not as good as he played last year. Cooper DeJean's had a solid year. I'll give him that. But anybody else? Tell me who the hell has stepped up to fill the void left by Hargrave and or not Hargrave. Why do I can't remember the defensive Milton Williams. God damn, Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, CJ, BJ, KJ, TJ, Slay, Isaiah Rodgers. The list goes on and on. Who has stepped up to fill that void? I guess Brandon Graham is, now that he's back. I said it all heading into the season. There was some concerns about what the Eagles had done to the defense. And did they restock the defense appropriately? And were players like Zach Bond, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Nakobe Dean maybe to a lesser extent, were players like that were they going to have the same kind of seasons without the presence of the front four and without the presence of some veterans in the defensive backfield? Were they able to kind of elevate their game to make up for some of that? And I would say largely they haven't. They have not. They've shown flashes of it. Week 1 through 3, they were elite defense, and then they got tired, and then they got hurt. And here we are, man. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Kaepernick checks in and says the Cowboys have inquired about Max Crosby. And more than likely, listen, for the right price, Crosby's going to be on the move. Henderson's going to be on the move. There's some players from some teams that are falling apart that are going to be on the move, but the right price. This is the wrong time of the year to try to swindle somebody out of a player. This is a complete buyer's market right now. Or I say seller's market. It's a complete seller's market. I don't know why I said buyers. You could feasibly ask for a first and a second round pick for a Max Crosby. You could ask for that and get it. And then you get into the bidding wars, and that gets all kinds out of control. And do the Eagles have the resources to absorb that? Do you want the Eagles to take that 13 draft pick that they had? Now it's down to 8. Do you want those 8 draft picks to go down to 5 or 4? Now, I know, as I said, the window-licking homers, they're like, I'm all in, man. Is that the right mentality to have for the defending Super Bowl champions? Shouldn't we be talking about sustained winning and building upon a foundation that's already been laid down? Do I give Howie a lot of grief? First to say I do. Absolutely. But do I give him his props? I do. I give him his recognition when due. But I haven't heard anybody, I've heard off color comments, like quietly, about Howie Roseman's offseason not being the best. It's almost like they're afraid to say it. I'm not. He has had a terrible offseason. And now, again, the window lickers are going to tell me, well, you're just a hater. You're just looking for things. Well, yeah, I am looking for things, of course. You're just looking for things to support your narrative. Duh. Yeah, of course I am. So are you. I mean, let's not try to take the moral high ground, all right? I mean, you guys are doing the same thing I am, just in reverse. Okay? But sometimes when I can present things in factual numbers, and all the homers can come off of is in faith, like, hallelujah, the Eagles, and that's all they're rolling things off of. But I'm coming at you with numbers. I'm coming at you with hardcore evidence. I'm considered the blasphemer here. Now, pick up the first stone, man, because, if you want to call me a blasphemer, go ahead. Howie Roseman has had a bad offseason, at least through 7 weeks of the season. I love Brandon Graham, but he's just a veteran presence that is missed, but he is not a game changer the Eagles need. Does anybody think he is? Does anybody think this move is what the Eagles were missing all season? I mean, I agree. But could we have found him a better role? Make him a coach? Put a clipboard in his hand and a headset on? Stick him on the sideline embedded with the defense and the line? Why do we have to waste a roster spot on him? I agree with you, Kaepernick. How much is he going to give me on the field? Yes. Is he going to provide veteran presence? 100% in leadership. Yes. But he could have done that as a coach. This is a desperation move by Howie Roseman. Complete desperation. Because Howie now, heading into the season, I'm sure he's not a dumb person. He knew he was taking a chance. He knew he was taking a chance by taking 6 main contributors off that defense and replacing them with what he replaced them with. And he had to. He had no choice. Money. The old kicking the can down the road philosophy finally caught up with him. But nobody talks about that. No one wants to talk negative about Howie friggin' Roseman. I think so, yes, Ricky. They will be open tonight. If you want something really nice, you have to pay for it. This is how I feel about the Eagles' needs. It's either go big or go home. Kaepernick, I agree, but the basis of that statement is what hurts me. The basis of that statement is what irks me as well. Should we be talking this way, a go big or go home move for the defending Super Bowl champions? Should they have not been more prepared heading into a season where they not only had an opportunity to defend their championships, but also start a dynasty. And that was my major concern with the defense. You're tearing it down. It's not like you had a 4-13 season last year. You're the defending champions, and you're making all these wholesale moves along the defense. Was this the right time to do that? Now, would there ever have been a right time? I don't know. Was the money situation a problem? Yeah. And Howie always has the eye for the money. I'll give him that. He's looking ahead at the contract situation 2, 3 years from now. I'll give him that. But the opportunity was right here. And it still is. Don't get me wrong. It's still here. But the opportunity is right now to start a dynasty. Did you put your defense in the right position to do that by the moves you made this offseason? And here we sit talking about go big or go home at the trade deadline. Well, you're right. If they're going to bring a Max Crosby in here, they're going big. And can we afford to go big on a guy like that? It's going to cost us some assets in the future. We talked about it last night. A.J. Brown, how much time does that guy really have left on this football team? How much more of A.J. Brown do we have left to tolerate on this football team? And when I say we, I mean the management. You know they're getting tired of it. So at what point do you have to seriously look at replacing A.J. Brown? Lane Johnson cannot play till he's 60. Right? At what point do you look at replacing Lane Johnson? There's still a problem with the tight end position. You got to replace that position. So now the offense, you've sunk all these assets of drafting into the defense, and largely those assets have not panned out yet. Well, now you're going to have to turn around next season and sink a lot of offensive assets into the draft. And are you going to have the draft capital after going big or going home with a Max Crosby or a Hendrickson or a Chubb or the guy from Cleveland, the CB? Are you going to have those assets left in order to do those things? So, yeah, we want to kick the can down the road, and he wants to think about the money 1, 2, 3 years from now. What about the draft 1, 2, 3 years from now? Because you stay good through the draft. Howie Roseman can't draft. I agree with you guys, and I have the tracker to prove it. I'm not going to get into that tonight, but as long as you give Howie the assets, he can kind of get it right more times than not. But if you limit Howie Roseman's assets in the draft, then you start bringing out the Howie Roseman's the smartest guy in the room mentality thing. Then Howie starts to try to overthink things because he's trying to get maximum value for the little assets that he has. And that's a recipe for disaster. So this could have long-standing ramifications. And is this the right place the defending Super Bowl champions need to be in? I agree with you, as I was saying the same thing to a friend, that Graham should have been a quality something. Yeah. Absolutely. A quality assurance defensive line coach. Make up a job for him. But don't waste a roster spot on him. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. But he's going to be coming back. And God help Howie Roseman. I say that because I mean it, but I don't know how much is actually going to come through. God help Howie Roseman if this is the only move, right? Or is Eagle Nation going to take a big old hit off the green Kool-Aid out of the punch bowl and say, that's all we need was Brandon Graham? Or is Howie going to get proper backlash if this is all that he's doing for the trade deadline? I guess time will tell on that. But an interesting turn of events for the Philadelphia Eagles is Brandon Graham is returning to the nest in 2025. So, what is your opinions? I want to know. Tell me what you think. So, let's open up them phone lines. I guess everybody wants to do that. Let's open up the phone lines. So I'm about to drop the link of the show into the chat. It should be appearing on whatever platform you're listening to, either through YouTube, Facebook, or X. Just click that link, and that'll take you backstage here. And all I need is a way to talk to you. I don't need to see you if you don't feel comfortable on camera. but I just need a way to communicate with you through audio and spoken word. So hop in. Let's have some fun. But Brandon Graham, back in the nest. The other big story, of course, is the Sixers getting ready to start their 25-26 season in a very beat-up Eastern Conference. They will play the Celtics tomorrow night and the Get Process Sixer postgame. This is probably the most I'll talk about basketball for the year, but so you better listen. The Get Process Sixers postgame show will debut tomorrow night. Pat Bernard will have you on the call. The Jason Tatum-less Boston Celtics, by the way, as he's been ruled out for the year with the ACL problem. It really kind of opens up that East a little bit. And Joel Embiid, I guess, is starting the season out healthy. VJ Edgecombe has looked pretty good in his first preseason action as a pro. Paul George is out. Another year of Tyrese Maxey. You know, the Sixers have enough to make a run. Charles Barkley thinks they do. If they can stay healthy, Charles Barkley thinks they have a shot to come out of the East. And is this something that Philadelphia sports fans, is this almost like looking into the future of the Phillies? Right? I mean, I know collectively Sixers Nation and all of Philadelphia, you know, did the whole, what are you talking about, when Daryl Morey basically said he was running it back again this year? Are we getting an opportunity to see how this could not work with the Phillies because the Sixers decided to run it back? Are we going to get like a sneak peek at this and sort of equate it to what the Phillies might do if they run it completely back? So very interesting season about to start for the Sixers. Win, lose, or draw. It could give us a window into the future of what 2026 Philly season could look like. But not if they follow my plan. If they follow my plan, we're winning a World Series. And I put the lineup, the defensive alignments, I put all that stuff up on Facebook so you guys can check that stuff out. I did see a Joel in the preseason game and he slimmed down. Yeah, he's played 19 minutes? Yeah, look good. You look good. No Paul George, though, to start the season. All right. Joe Hale, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, Joe. I'm doing well.
I want to talk basketball. Thoughts on Quentin Grimes coming back on a one-year deal?
He's a G Leaguer who played well with a B-Leaguer Sixer roster last year. Bounces around the NBA. He's a good player to have when all your starters get hurt, like the Sixers had. Are they going to, are teams going to scheme for Quentin Grimes in 25-26? Are they going to actually try to prepare for his effect? We'll see. We'll see if he's an actual pro, because if that's the case, then he's going to have to put his game up a little bit to see where he stands. But based off what he did last year, obviously it's a positive thing. But again, I mean, I could have played for the Sixers last year and probably had some success. But now that the team is back healthy, and that teams have had an opportunity, it's almost like the rookie NFL quarterback effect. You give them 1 year with no tape, no tendencies. They tear up the league, and then you come back your sophomore year, you got tape, you got tendencies, things kind of come down a little bit. That's kind of what I'm looking at in that situation.
You're right. Another topic. I don't see Brandon Graham playing this week. I think he plays against the Packers, but he shouldn't be out there. Say if he gets hurt, it's a dumb move by Philly and Howie. Even though I trust Howie Roseman, I think they're still going to make a trade at the deadline.
I hope they do for the sake of my sanity. But again, I said this to you last night, I think. We're playing with less draft picks than we started the season with. We're down to 8. The trades that he's made so far with the draft picks have not worked. I know Kaepernick said in the chat, go big or go home. I think that's the wrong mentality you should have as the defending Super Bowl champions. And that tells you a lot about where I think the Eagles are as a team right now in terms of Howie Roseman not having a good offseason and not preparing this team adequately. But as far as your statement about Brandon Graham, I mean, really, Joe, whether it be against the Giants or the Packers, I think you're right, though. I think they should give him this week with the team, a week off, and then a whole full practice week, get ready for the Packers. An extra day because it's a Monday night game. Give him that whole time to get ready. But what are you really expecting to see from Brandon Graham on the field, Joe?
I'm not expecting a whole lot.
Yeah, rotational
I
guy.
say maybe. Yes, I say maybe like 10 snaps.
Yeah,
So
is 10 snaps good enough to invest a roster spot on?
no, he shouldn't be on the roster at all. He should
Bring
be
him
a
back
coach,
as a coach.
like
A coach.
So I'm gonna give you another topic, and then that's it. Penn State head coaching. Apparently, the Texas A&M Aggies coach wants it now.
I didn't see that. Really?
Yeah,
I didn't see that. Listen,
So
Penn
there
State's a
was
primo
talk-
job. It's a primo job. I mean, power conference, perennial, top 10, top 20 team. It's a great job. I don't think Nick Saban wants it after what he said about them on the thing last week with James Franklin. I would be surprised to see Saban there. I don't want Urban Meyer here either. I know Mike Lauro was talking about Urban Meyer. I don't want him there. I do want I would not mind a John Gruden's name. Somebody brought that. Was it you who brought John Gruden up?
I did.
I would love John Gruden in Penn State. That would be phenomenal.
There's another trick opening college football, and that's Florida Gators, Billy Napier.
Yeah.
Would Napier fit good in Penn State?
Yeah. So here's the thing about Penn State, and here's what scares about the only thing that scares me about firing James Franklin. He's had about 5 or 6 players that had verbally committed to go to Penn State pull out because James Franklin was an outstanding recruiter. That's that's the one thing that scares me. That was the only thing he brought to the table that I hope they can replicate. And that's what I'd be looking at with my head coach, especially if I'm bringing in from another pro style type program, is how is he with recruiting? I don't know how this guy is with recruiting, but John Gruden is a name I'm gonna champion here. I want John Gruden to be the head coach of Penn State.
John Gruden and Jay Gruden, the Gruden brothers.
There you go. Absolutely. Absolutely. That would be awesome.
Okay. That's all I wanted to talk about.
All right. Joe Hale. See you tomorrow?
Yes.
All right, man. We'll talk tomorrow. Joe Hale. I love this. Oh, wait, what am I saying? The link. The link to call in is not up there. Okay, so it's not showing up on Facebook. Pepperneck, go over to YouTube or go to X. It's in there. I don't know what's going on with Facebook. It doesn't, for some odd reason. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes my show's on. It's scheduled to be on, but sometimes it just doesn't show up. So that's the best thing I can tell you. Go over to X or go over to Facebook, or somebody that's chatting along. Drop the chat in there for Pepperneck. I don't know. I don't watch college football, but I love to see John Gruden. You're right. It would be quality TV at the very least bit. It would be quality TV. Gruden would bring a old school approach back to Penn State. Think about this. A late October night, Penn State, Ohio State. And don't forget, next year, Ohio State comes to Penn State. So, and I've always liked when they schedule those games around Halloween. It just seems right. But think about that. A whiteout Penn State, Ohio State at Happy Valley, and John Gruden with that snarl is walking up and down the sidelines. I mean, it does not get any better than that. So I'm champion John Gruden to return to Penn State, or to come to Penn State, return to coaching with the Nittany Lions. I'd love to see John Gruden as the OC of the Eagles. Another great, it wouldn't work. John Gruden and Nick Sirianni would not last half a season working together. Would not last a half a season together. That would be almost Buddy Ryan, and what was the guy that he hit on the sidelines when they were working in Houston? When Ryan was a defensive coordinator, and and he punched the offensive coordinator when they're on the sidelines together. Remember that game? Big dude. Gilbride was his name. Kevin Gilbride, was that the guy's name? It would be almost something like that going down on the Eagle sideline. I would not want to see that. Because, Gruden wouldn't want to work in the booth. He'd be down on the field. So, I don't know. That wouldn't work. Great. Quality TV. Entertaining TV. But I don't think it would work. So, Joe Hale says the link is on Facebook. So, it's on there, Papernick. You got to look harder. But, I missed one of your comments up here. Let's go to this one. Jimmy Rollins saying John Middleton wants to be George Steinbrenner of the South. Well, George would have fired the moron Robbie after losing to the Diamondbacks. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Diamondbacks, absolutely. That was the time that you could have backed out of Rob Thompson easier than you can now. Because the damage hadn't been done yet with the way he's tainted these players. So, yeah, there's some truth to that. I think back to the relationship Steinbrenner had with Billy Martin, bringing him in every year, firing him, bringing him back, firing him, bringing him back, firing him. So, I believe that. And, as we get ready, as I said, I started off the show with a very positive message. A positive message about this day in Philadelphia sports history. Back in 1980 on this night, the Phillies won the World Series. And on 2009, the Phillies advanced back to the World Series by beating the Dodgers in the NLCS on this day in Philadelphia sports history. And as I sit here tonight talking about Brandon Graham being re-signed by the Eagles, do the Sixers get successful running it back yet again? The Flyers season really too early to kind of sink your teeth into. And the Phillies sitting home now for what, going on 2 weeks? It just makes me sad, man. It really does. October baseball is the best thing. It's the best thing about baseball in October. You know what I mean? October sucks for baseball because it's the end. But when you go out with that type of environment, with that type of passion and that type of intensity, night after night after night through a playoff series or multiple playoff series, if you're lucky, it don't get any better than that. And it makes it even harder when your team doesn't advance past the first, second, third, whatever. They don't get to the World Series. They don't win it. And that's why I'm a big fan of the WBC, because it's like October baseball in March. That's why I'm a big fan of it. Gets your intensity revved right back up to 100 in March. And I can live with that. But, it's just sad, man. It's just sad that the Phillies, I don't know what's sadder. The Phillies got eliminated or the prospect of them running it back with about 98% of the team still intact. I don't know what's sadder, honestly. And it really does make me sad. So, I don't know. We'll see. Oh, Mike Papernick joining in. Mike Papernick, good to see you. Good to meet you, Mike. How you doing? You're on mute, Mike. You got to unmute your microphone. I can see your microphone with a little slash through the center of it, saying that you're muted. I'm still muted, Mike. Can you hear me? So Mike can hear me. I cannot hear you. Now, I can see your microphone. The icon has a little bit of a slash through it, meaning you're muted. So, Mike, I'm going to pop you on backstage. I'm going to keep you back there. There you go. Mike's going to work on that. Okay. So, Mike's going to work on it. Good to see Mike Papernick checking in. So, I'm talking about, guys. Come on. I put the link out there for a reason. Every night it's Joe Hale or Ricky Deal. Not that I don't mind it. I love talking to them guys, but let's go. Let's get some more people to the party here. Joe says, does Jimmy Rollins become a bench coach? For the Phillies or for just a bench coach in general? But if you're asking for the Phillies, I say no for only one reason. I say no for one reason and one reason only. I'm a firm believer of them creating the MLB, field coordinator position to move the current bench coach into, and opening the bench coach position on the Phillies. I feel that is a straight move to protect themselves if Rob Thompson comes out of the gate and fails. So they can do an a la Joe Torre move to him, or not Joe Torre, Joe Girardi move to him, fire him midseason, and then insert this guy who's going to be the bench coach. So that's why I really believe that you're going to see a former MLB manager, maybe not, I'm not saying he served as a manager recently, but someone that's got an MLB manager resume installed as the new Phillies bench coach, because I think he's got a dual purpose here: to serve as the bench coach, but to also be the safety net if Rob Thompson gets fired. And Jimmy Rollins, that type of situation for him probably ain't the best situation to bring a brand new manager into it. Maybe you look forward into 2027. If that does happen, maybe you look forward and instilling him as your manager. Kurt Suzuki got named today as the Angels manager, former player. By the way, to the Toronto Blue Jays credit, what is it? Hoffman, Buddy Kennedy, and Sir Anthony all headed to the World Series this year. Congratulations, guys. And Jordan Romano is sitting home with a 13.48 ERA, nursing a blister problem that he had since July. Wow. Joe Ross got DFA'd, I don't know, in June. And there's Hoffman sitting, going to the World Series for, that's what I'm talking about, man. That's what I'm talking about. So, but no, to answer your question, no, I don't think Jimmy Rollins becomes bench coach, only for that reason, because I think it's a safety net situation. I think they're going to pull somebody in like a Don Mattingly or a Dusty, probably not Dusty, but like a Don Mattingly, maybe a Mike Scioscia, someone that's got a former MLB manager pedigree that could come in mid-season if things don't go right. So that's the answer to that question. I'm trying to figure out how to unmute the mic. No, Mike, listen, Papernick, you take your time. If we can't get you in tonight, I'm sure we'll get you in at another time. But I'm glad you jumped on. Again, the phone lines are open, digital style, of course. I don't have a phone number, but what I have is I put the link to the show in the chat. If you have the ability to talk to me, that's all you need to be able to do. I don't need to see you if you don't want to. If you want to, that's fine, but I don't have to see you, but I have to be able to speak to you. Just hit on that link. It'll pop you backstage here. I'll put you on, and we'll do this. We'll have some fun with it. We call it the phone lines being open digital style, right? The wave of the future. Picking off the corpse of terrestrial sports talk radio that is dying on the vine. But as we wait for Papernick to potentially figure out his problems technologically, let's hit into our Of the Night segment here on the program, and let's do it. All right, we are continuing through the Flyer prospect segment of the night. We won't be transitioning to something else. I know there comes a time, I think, like in February, where we're doing all three of them. We're doing Flyers prospects, we're talking MLB draft, we're talking NHL draft, and we actually even start doing Philly spotlight. So like in January, February, we'll be doing 4 different segments in the Of the Night, but we're only doing one right now as we're talking Flyers prospects. And let's continue down the road here with the man of the hour, Tony Dick. That's right, baby. Anthony Richard, Tony Dick, coining the phrase from our boy Sal G. The center left winger from the Phantoms, 5'11", 183 pounds, 4th round 2015 draft pick from Nashville. Is he a Flyers prospect? No, not really. One, he's too damn old to be considered a prospect. And two, he's too damn old to be considered a prospect as he's bounced around the NHL. A complete tweener type player, but when given an opportunity, especially with the Flyers last year, definitely gave this team a little bit of a bump. The smallish forward has NHL caliber speed, but has to prove he has the skill needed to avoid being labeled a career minor leaguer who gets the occasional recall. Well, up to this point, he has not avoided that. But, I know some of these guys personally. I spent some time working in the New Jersey Devil hockey organization in their system. I was part of their equipment staff with the Utica Comets, their AHL affiliate. And I know some of these career minor leaguers on a personal level. Listen, man, it's not a bad life. You get to live out your dream and play hockey for as long as you can. And a lot of them transition into coaching when they get out or retire and become successful coaches. So I'm never going to knock a tweener. I know I call them tweeners and it sounds sort of derogatory. It's not. It's just a shortened version of players that are between the NHL and the AHL or the MLB and AAA. That's the phrase I gave them, tweener. But it's not derogatory at all. I envy guys like this because nobody grows up and wants to play sports in the minor leagues their career. No one wants to do that. Everyone wants to be the star of the show. But unfortunately, 1% of the 1%, sometimes you're not the 1% of the 1%. But there's still a place for you. And when Tony Dick gets his shot, he definitely gives the Flyers his best. And so far through this season with the Phantoms, Anthony Richard, whatever, 4 games, 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points, and a healthy +2. So good start to his young season. And I'm sure before it's all said and done with, we'll see him back wearing orange and black probably multiple times this year. But there you have it. And again, is he a Flyers prospect by definition? No, he's not a prospect by definition at all. He was drafted 10 years ago. So I'll give you that. But our Flyer prospect of the night, Anthony Richard. There you go. There you go. Trenton is getting a hockey. Yeah, you were saying something about that. That's pretty cool. Another opportunity to go across the bridge there, take a train ride over, drive over, whatever, check out some hockey. Awesome stuff. But all right, let's continue on. Let's get to our final segment and my favorite segment. All right. Our card review segment tonight, baseball card related. That's the baseball card. But we're going off the grid a little bit. We're not doing modern. We're dipping way on back to the year 1981. The 81 tops, going way back when I was just a young man learning how to collect baseball cards. And I'd like to tell you that this card's been with me since 1981, but I can't because it'd be a lie. I actually acquired this card in November of last year at a card show. The hell did I trade for it? I traded a Barry Bonds rookie, 87 tops, for this card and another card from a guy that was selling basically vintage cards. And when I say vintage, I mean like 1990 and earlier. He had binders full of them. And I was walking through and I started flipping through some of the binders and I saw this card and the card I ended up trading as well for it. And I was like, I got to have it. And Barry Bonds is 87 tops until they can figure out what the hell's going on with him in the Hall of Fame. That card will never, ever see its peak as far as, money-wise. And I don't think it's ever going to work out for Barry Bonds. He's just been involved with too much. So I had no problem trading the Bonds rookie card. And plus the fact that I had 2 of them, so I still have 1 here. So really didn't have any problem. So I ended up making the trade for this card and then kind of going off of our theme of the night tonight with our day in Philadelphia sports history with the Phillies winning the World Series. I'm going with the 81 Tug McGraw World Series memorabilia card, I guess. I don't know what this was part of the 81 set. It's sort of the World Series card. I don't know. I think this is the only one that the Phillies had. I think the Royals had a player also designated as a World Series card, or maybe it was just the Phillies because they won, but this is the only version of a World Series card in the 81 top set. And it's, of course, of Tug McGraw in the iconic celebratory hands in the air after the Phillies won the World Series. It's card number 404 in the 81 set. Very much looks like a card from 1981. And the card that I ended up picking up is very similar to the card I'm looking at right here in terms of its the graphics and the way it sort of looks. I went around and researched this card a little bit. I did find a PSA 9 in this card that was going for $25. But as far as the raw cards that I found, $1, $3. Nothing special here. It's a base card. You know, it's a Tug McGraw World Series card, but definitely huge nostalgic feelings about this baseball card. And when I saw it, and by the way, it was sitting next to a 1979 Steve Carlton. So I ended up making the trade for those two cards for a Barry Bonds rookie. So there you have it. It's an iconic card for me, nostalgic wise. You know, an image that all Phillies fans everywhere have of Tug McGraw after winning the World Series in 1980. And when I saw it, I had to have it. Now I'm certain that at some point in my life, this card has actually passed through my hands. But you know, I was 8 in 1981. You know, cut me some slack. All right. I'm sure I had this card. I'm sure I had a lot of good cards. I know I had a Bo Jackson rookie card at one time. I know that. I remember that vividly. And I ended up selling that card for like $5. Kids should not be allowed to go to a card store and sell cards to adults. They should not be without a parent with them. Who knows what they're doing? I still kick myself for that. But a cool looking baseball card, nevertheless. Nothing flashy about it. Kind of set up in the 81 motif. The 81 top set was really not flashy. None of the early 80s, you know, it wasn't about the flash back then. It was about the set, right? It was about collecting the whole set. That's what made you a viable card collectors. If you had the entire set, it wasn't about the flashiness of individual cards. You weren't going to have a card that was going to outprice the set. Now things have switched dramatically in the sports card collecting, especially with baseballs or baseball. Not having a full set means nothing anymore. It's about the valuable cards. It's about the flashy cards that come out in these sets. That's what it's all about. But there you go. The 1981 Tug McGraw Phillies World Series card, number 404. I found it on two different reputable websites selling for $25 as a PSA 9. And here's my card right here. As I said, I look at this card and I look at all the cards that I saw online, and honestly, they look like this. They look like a similar card, very similar in terms of the condition. My corners are pretty sharp. I think it's a little faded, and when I look at that picture, I see the same thing. It might be a little faded. I don't know, but there it is. Your card of the night, the 81 Tug McGraw World Series rookie card. So let's try this one more time. Okay. Pappernick, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Pappernick. Good to meet you,
What's
man.
up? Hey, what's up, Matty? How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How about you?
You know, life couldn't be any better. Sarcastically saying that.
Of course. So what's on your mind tonight, Mike?
Well, what we've been talking about, you know, the Brandon Graham issue, you know, I mean, I don't think he's the answer. I mean, from what I read, Howie wanted to bring him out of retirement months ago because Brandon didn't want to retire, from what I understand. So
yeah, I had heard, I saw that it was a situation where Brandon Graham decided to retire because he didn't think he had a roster spot through the cap in 2025. And that's what he said, or that's why I heard he had said he retired because he didn't think he had a spot on the team. Which I don't know. I mean, do you believe that?
No, I don't believe that. I mean, I think it was more his wife or something, you know, or maybe Howie at the time told him, listen, you know, we're going to try to go younger, you know, and thought they could do it. But then it just kicked Howie back in the ass, you know.
And that's what I think a lot of this offseason has done so far. And again, through 7 games is what it is. And season's not over yet. But when we're looking here at the trade deadline, Pappernick, and we've been talking about it tonight, and I've been talking about it throughout the last couple of weeks. When you look at the offseason and the potential now that you might have to pony up more more draft assets to bring in a Max Crosby, a Henderson, whatever his name is, a player like that, and you're now cutting deeper into your draft prospect pool, and you have some very glaring needs on the offense that have to be addressed at some point next year. Is this, should the Eagles be even entertaining this? Because Max Crosby is not coming here for a 3rd-round draft pick.
No, I don't think the Eagles should be entertaining it, but it's a necessity now. I mean, that's the problem. I mean, they put themselves, against the wall, and there's nowhere else to go. So, I mean, it's Howie's fault on that thing. I think the biggest mistake Howie made in the offseason was the Isaiah Rodgers move. I think because if you were going to let Slay go, you couldn't let both go. And I think leaving Isaiah Rodgers go was a big mistake. I also think they could have did a little better upgrading Josh Sweat. But that's why they're in that position now. So, I mean, it's one or the other. And me personally, I like the defensive line because I think that helps out more when you can disrupt the quarterback and makes your secondary a little easier to defend stuff.
Yeah, and a player that we don't talk about that I think they're also feeling the hurt from is Milton Williams. I thought he was an underappreciated guy while he was here, but he definitely clogged up the middle of that line and helped out Jalen Carter and sprung Jalen Carter for. I mean, Jalen Carter is effective as he is, but with Milton Williams or a player like that, he was 10 times more effective. And now we don't have that in the middle. Jordan Davis, is he still playing? I haven't heard his name in weeks. So we got some problems on that line.
I mean, could Howie get creative and maybe use Jordan Davis in a trade, if he has to, so you don't have to pony, not because he's going to lose them anyway, probably next year because he's probably going to walk and get a compensatory pick for him.
Well, he did sign that. He signed the 3rd year. What was it? The 3rd year tender deal on his he signed for that 5th year deal, which is coming up not next year, but it would be next year. Next year will be his 5th year. So He is under contract right now because he signed that deal last offseason.
I mean, the only thing good about Jordan Davis, I mean, he's a good player. He slimmed down. Without him, I don't know where they would be right now in the sense because if he was the 350 pounds he was last year, I mean, this defensive line would be in trouble. But to get to the Milton Williams thing, Howie was in a bad position, and did he put himself into that possibly for all what he did on the offensive side? Because you had Josh Sweat and Williams come up at the same time, and neither one was going to take a discount. I mean, that's the problem right there. I mean, but I think if Howie don't make a move, which is be moronic, they're banking on Nolan Smith then to come back and be a monster, which they got to understand. He only played well because he fed off Milton Williams, Jalen Carter, and Josh Sweat. He fed off them guys. I mean, it's like when the Eagles had Clyde Simmons, Andy Harmon, Reggie White. You see where I'm going? Like they all, Reggie didn't have to feed off anybody, but neither did Clyde, but Andy Harmon did. Those guys all fed off them. All them guys fed off them. And I mean, would I like to see Milton Williams here? Yeah, I actually would like to see Josh Sweat here. I think that's what they're missing. I've been saying that for weeks. They're missing that guy on the edge. That the Vikings game was the only game all season that I saw a quarterback under duress. Yep. I didn't know, like you said, I didn't know how Wentz even made it through that game with the shots he was taking from Jalen Carter. I don't understand that one at all. I mean, I'm not a Carson guy in this sense because I think it's all between his ears and he's a little loopy anymore. But I was feeling bad for him. I mean, even though he torched us for 300 some odd yards, I mean,
no, I know
he was sitting there.
Yeah, Carson Wentz, listen, 1 for 6 in the red zone were the Vikings. Carson Wentz did move the ball up and down the field, but when it really came down to it and the Eagles ratcheted up the pressure, Wentz wilted, absolutely 100%. And he wasn't helped with bad penalties and what have you. But you make a good point, and I said it earlier, especially with the secondary. Now, the secondary is the other issue that everybody, heading into the season, the CB2 position was never, ever solidified. Even into the training camp, into the preseason, we're still asking who's going to be the guy. Now here we are in week 7, still asking the same question. Quinyon Mitchell's not having the type of season he had last year. Now he's hurt. Cooper DeJean's probably the only one who's actually maintained the level that he had last year. Can the Eagles continue through the rest of the season, Kaepernick, with a makeshift CB2?
Like I said, depends on what they do with that defensive line. I mean, think about this. I know they had Slay and all them guys last year, but if that defensive line was playing like this, like what they're playing like now, can that secondary hold up? Last year,
that's a good point. That's a good point.
I mean, now here's the thing. Here's what I want to ask you. I want to bring this up. I didn't bring it. So I watched the Lions game last night. I've been watching them for the last couple of weeks. A friend of mine's a Lions fan. And they got a new offensive coordinator, and that offense hasn't missed a beat. Hasn't missed a beat. We get this guy. We get this guy in here, and it's like watching paint dry. I'm like, where's all this stuff we're supposed to be doing? It's like the running back last year and the year before. It's like, Doug Peterson said he would come back as a consultant. I mean, I don't know if that's even the answer, but I'd love to see John Gruden here, but you can't. The problem is you can't have a John Gruden here because of Nick Sirianni's personality. He would overshadow it. He would kill it. And do you know this? Just think about this. Nick Sirianni is the only head coach in football that has no responsibility in offense or defense. I mean,
CEO.
If that offensive coordinator, that thing goes south real fast. This team's going south real fast because he starts calling the plays. Nah, we're done.
So I agree with the not missing a beat thing within Detroit, and I know a lot of people were like, "Well, the Lions aren't going to be that good this year because they're changing out coordinators," and that really hasn't been the case. I mean, the Lions got off to a little bit of a slow start, but they're starting to catch fire now. But that's what I've said about this whole Kevin Padula thing is it smacked to me of a lot of 2023, and not because. And the people took it the wrong way, like, "Oh, it's not the same season. They were 10-1." I don't mean stop being so literal. I don't mean that. I mean like the fact that you're relying on Jalen Hurts because you don't have Saquon Barkley doing what he was doing. Now you're relying on Jalen Hurts to be a more effective passer, and that hasn't worked in the past. And you saw it work in 24 when you could have Saquon pretty much take a lot of the burden off of the offense, and then Jalen would hit the big pass when he had to. But now you're putting the burden on Hurts. It had nothing to do, in my opinion, with the play caller. We've been switching out offensive coordinators every season since 2021, and the only time it really worked is when we had a dominant running game in 2024. So, to me, it's about personnel, Kaepernick, 100%.
I think Jalen. Okay, how do you put it? He's not an elite quarterback. I think he's in the second realm, of quarterbacks. Now, do I think he could pass the ball every game? How do you put this? When you're taking the ball away from him, just tell him to run it. I mean, we got to we didn't pay him all that money just to hand the ball off. So, I mean, look what he did in the Super Bowl. I mean, even though I know the defense, everybody says, "Oh, the defense team." They only have one defensive interception in the red zone. That was it. And what they did. Jalen, they took the running game away from him. Mm-hmm. And he went 2 touchdowns, an interception, 1 rushing touch. I mean, he did that. He took that. Can he do that every game? I don't know. But I mean, you got to, if the running game ain't going, you're going to have to pass the ball or just.
I agree. So the defense also sacked Mahomes 6 times and forced 3 total turnovers.
I get that part. No, I get that.
They flipped the field quite a bit in the Super Bowl. But real quick, Kaepernick, because I'm up against it because it's my time. But I'm running out of time.
I'm going to figure out that camera thing too. I don't know how to do that.
Listen, this works, man. I mean, all I have to be able to do is talk to you anyway. But so week 7, Giants, Eagles. Is this a must-win game for the Eagles?
I think every game. This is a must-win. Yes, I think the Minnesota and this game are a must-win for the Eagles, and I think Jackson Dart, who don't get me wrong, I like him, but he's so cocky. I do think the Eagles win that game. I think it's a little. It's not going to be not going to be like a lopsided one, but I'm thinking they remember what happened with camps with Scatterboo and all that, and they're remembering that, and I think they got something for them.
Here's the thing about the Giants. The Giants might be back. They might not be back this year, but they can if Jackson Dart can weather the storm and then actually not go into a sophomore slump and be the real deal, and they give him some offensive weapons, the Giants might be a problem next year and beyond. They might be.
Look, he's playing with house money right now, so he has nothing to lose and a lot to gain out. But I just think I just don't, because because I'm an Eagles fan. I just him being the way he is, just the cockiness was just like, really, kid? Like, somebody's got to knock him on his ass. Just knock him on his ass. That's why, listen, for all this stuff that Buddy Ryan got, I do miss that, I do miss that kind. And what? And did you see Russell Wilson shoot back at Sean Payton today?
No.
About, something about, he said, so I guess Sean Payton made a comment. I'm not sure what the comment was about the Giants. And he said, he goes, now you're bounty hunting through the media 15 years later about the Williams. And I'm thinking bounty hunting's been going on. It's still going on. They do it privately. Like, you don't think they say, look, knock a guy out for $100?
That's right.
Come on, man. It's football. Well, Matty, listen, it's good meeting you on here. I'll try to call in when I can,
Absolutely.
So have a good night, man.
You too. Michael Papernick joining me here on the show. That's what I'm talking about, man. Good to get some new blood in there. Ricky Deal is saying, are the phone lines open again? Ricky, the show's over, man. Gotta where'd you go, man? We've been on the air for like an hour and 20 minutes. I gotta tune out. I gotta shut it down, Ricky. But I'll be back tomorrow night, Ricky. You are number one on the list. Gotta hop in, Ricky. I know you got a night routine that you go through. I will get you on tomorrow night, Ricky. I promise. Promise. But thank you to Joe Hale and Mike Papernick and Ricky. I know I saw you out there. For tuning in. And again, when I open the phone lines, it's an invitation to all to jump on and have some fun. WIP style. What you call it, baby. Well, that's going to wrap me up. Remember, here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network, tomorrow night, you just had me today. Very quiet day on the network. But tomorrow night, we get back into some more of a routine. The Pittsburgh Sports Desk at 8. Sixers Celtics postgame get processed with Pat Bernard. Following Sixers Celtics as they'll kick their season off. And I guess the NBA actually kicked off tonight. And then I'll come at you right after the Sixers and Celtic postgame, 10:30-ish, whatever that is. Then on Thursday, the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn. That might also be flexed till tomorrow. I'll let you guys know because I will not be here Thursday. The Gridiron Weekly will be here Thursday. Postgame Flyers Senators, clear the ice, and there will be no final word. So this is our oh, no, I have one more tomorrow. And then props, locks, and parlays in the wraparound on Friday. And then the attacking third, they get processed and clear the ice on Saturday. And that's our lineup for the rest of the week. So make sure you're tuning into all the scheduling changes that are occurring because I can't figure out my own damn schedule because most of them are my mistakes. I know I'm putting me on there, and I know I'm the one who writes the schedule. And I knew I wasn't coming on Thursday night. Why the hell am I putting myself on there? But anyway, one of these weeks, I'll get it right. Unfortunately, I can't be fired because I own the network. So you just have to deal with it. But it was fun. We did our card of the night, which was the 81 Tug McGraw World Series card. Your day in Philadelphia sports history. Phillies win their first ever World Series in 1980 and get back to the World Series in 2009. And our Flyers prospect tonight was Tony Dick, Anthony Richard, taking a Sal G euphemism there. Good conversation. Brandon Graham is back. Sixers are about to tip it off. Flyers are looking pretty good. Phillies we're waiting patiently for what the offseason might be. And yeah, so tomorrow we'll get more back into some talking X's and O's, maybe about the Eagles Giants. Revenge game? I don't know for who. I don't think it's a revenge game. I don't know if the Eagles should go into it with a revenge game mentality. The Eagles should go into that game like embarrassed and wanting to prove that they belong on the same field as the Giants. So we'll break some Eagles Giants X's and O's down tomorrow. Well, we'll get in, probably continue the Flyers conversation as they will be playing. No, they won't. I won't be talking Flyers tomorrow. Maybe we'll talk Sixers. I don't know. Tonight was my basketball night, man. I talked about 7 minutes worth of basketball. It's probably the most you're going to get out of me all year. But we'll see what's on tap for tomorrow. These things have a tendency to change by the day. So until we talk again, you guys have a great rest of your night. Take care.